Hey folks, MasakoX here. Yes, I know this isn't April, obviously, but we basically had to return to the story because it's simply so darn wholesome, isn't it? With this premise of there being some kind of hijinks, high intervention, which meant certain spirits and essences wound up in completely different universes. The likes of Caulifla and Gohan were to end up in different locations, realms, worlds, and what have you, and would have entirely different lifestyles going forward. It'll be a while until we see Gohan in the story, so if you're waiting for him, you're going to be waiting a while. But as for the cauliflower, we've seen plenty of what she can do. With the spirit of a true Saiyan, despite being a halfling in this scenario, she is able to quell the most angry of enemies and completely nullify them and their original plans, even Piccolo. Although she admittedly did wind up offing her own dad indirectly. Oops. But she was keen to correct that mistake. That's okay, right? In the last part, Raditz and Piccolo agreed to work with Caulifla, and then later the other members of the Dragon team, to make sure that Goku would come back and be able to handle the Saiyan menace that was about to head their way. Now, even though Kami had their back throughout all of this, believing their every single word, Chi-Chi was basically not having any of it, surprise, surprise. And when she came to take Caulifla away, even when Krillin was starting to believe the Saiyan, Chi-Chi took a Caulifla foot to the knee and promptly had to reevaluate her lot in life going forward. And she kinda deserved it. Despite her misgivings, the monkey and slug turned out to be true to their word, and Caulifla was in no danger at all, and Goku was able to conduct his training in the other world with King Kai as he would typically do in the original. Nothing changes there. What also helped was that Caulifla's fighting spirit was way higher than Gohan's was at this point of the story. She was very tenacious and keen to learn, thanks to this whole situation being completely new to her, and her finding Uncles Pickle and Radish to be very cool, whereas Vegeta was very much not cool. Him sending out flunkies to do his dirty work for him? Despicable, the little cauliflower thought. The Cybermen were nothing, and Nappa was very much struggling against Raditz and the others. Let's resume and see whether these folks even need Goku with the little collie that could at the helm. Nappa was having to fight his way out of a very big paper bag here. The entire Dragon team was wailing on him. He was unable to get away in edgeways, and because of this welcome distraction, Chaozu was even able to use his telekinetic powers to some effect, unlike in the original. He could hold Nappa in place and it would work, and on occasion, make him hit himself with his own fist. All of this thanks to the simple fact that Nappa's not exactly smart, and being pulled from multiple directions, he's thusly unable to concentrate on one particular fighter, so Chaozu can, be a contributing fighter. Ha! Laughed Chaozu. Look what I can do, Tenshinhan! Tenshinhan was admittedly pretty amused at this sight of a Saiyan dunking on himself, but he had to remind himself that this was no time for amusement when the fate of the world was at stake. Mind you, this is Tenshinhan, he barely has time for any amusement even in the best of times. The shorter Saiyan could attack at any moment, to be fair. But you needn't worry, Tenny boy. Vegeta wasn't going to be attacking anytime soon. He found all of this entertainment enough to assure his lack of action. Nappa was getting tired of this though. In fact, he was even starting to get a little bit irate at his own boss. Vegeta, help me! He shouted with genuine frustration in his voice. Vegeta cast a bored look his way. You need my help? Come on, Nappa. Where is your Saiyan pride? You do not need it. Get on with the job. If you are holding back for whatever reason you may have, cease. Nappa wasn't exactly thrilled with Vegeta's continued cold heart and omission from proceedings, but, well, the boss said he didn't have to hold back anymore. With every ounce of power he had left, he began to push back against the Dragon team and find ways to separate them enough to start getting some hits on them. He then had an idea. He looked to the little girl. That Caulifla. Hey, kid! Caulifla turned to him with a look of surprise. Who, me? Yeah, you! Don't you know it's rude to talk back to your elders? Caulifla shrugged. Huh, well, that's weird. Because the way you act to your boss comes across as like a kid to me. Nappa was astounded with this brazen defiance, not entirely angry at this mind. He liked people with spirit. Shame she was on the wrong side, actually. I'll shut you up! With that, Nappa went for Caulifla and the two began to fight. With Nappa slightly down on power thanks to the sheer amount of fatigue that he had suffered with the Dragon Team going all in on him, Caulifla wasn't really entirely outmatched. Sure, I mean, she couldn't win against this guy one-on-one, but she could put up some kind of resistance on her own. That is until she tried to use Uncle Radish's technique, keen to impress. She leapt up in the air and shouted, "Double Sunday!" and fired. Sure enough, it did hit Nappa, who wasn't expecting it to A, hit, and B, hurt him as much as it did. But it took its toll on the young girl's frame, I'm afraid. Raditz saw this and could sense that Caulifla had put her all into that attack, and he cursed it. "Damn it, girl! You used up all your power in one move! What were you trying to prove?" "She's always trying to impress us. It's gonna get her killed if she keeps doing it." Indeed, Caulifla had used up a considerable amount of energy in that attack and promptly fell to the ground, very tired and unable to do that again. Amidst the rubble, Nappa climbed out of it, and his armor was completely gone, save for his space speedos, of course. He looked livid. Not only had he been beaten down by a kid, but by Raditz's technique. That was enough, he thought. "You little brat! You'll pay for that!" He then charged up his mouth cannon and aimed it at Caulifla. In that instant, Piccolo and Raditz knew what they had to do. They had to protect Caulifla. But who was going to do it? The two of them were bickering amongst themselves. Nappa fired the blast, and Caulifla had no strength to get up and get out of the way. She closed her eyes, bracing herself, almost accepting her fate, knowing that this could be the end. But she wasn't going to run away, even if she could. Vegeta was watching this with great interest. At least one of them's not a coward, he thought to himself. Quick as a flash, not sure who would do it, the pair of them decided to end their argument and both appeared in front of Caulifla, shoving each other out of the way. Uncle Pickle? Uncle Radish? Said the young girl, confused as to why both of them showed up and why both of them were, pushing each other. "She's my niece, Piccolo! I should be the one to save her! You need to help the others!" "No way! It's up to me to protect her! I'm the one that killed Goku, and so it's up to me to..." Too late. In that moment, the pair of them got toasted by the blast. All arguments were swept aside as the light energy tore into them both, with it burning them terribly. There go their organs. Nappa was both satisfied and bemused as to this rather stupid move. When the light dissipated though, both of the fighters were still upright, but not for long. The pair of them collapsed, but it resulted in Caulifla being unscathed. She slowly ran to them both and apologized for getting them killed now too. "Listen, Caulifla, it's not your fault. It's up to you now to avenge us. And remember, if it should happen, make sure to use your special gift, like we practiced, okay?" Caulifla meekly nodded. "Good. You did good. Just learn not to go all out immediately, right?" But soon enough, the light of life was extinguished from both of the fighters. Caulifla let out a wail, a shriek that could be heard from miles around, and actually heard by her father, who sped up even faster once he had arrived in the vicinity. Nappa was in a much worse state than in the original, but even he could take down Caulifla now. "No, kid, I kinda wanna spare ya. You got some moxie. We could do with another Raditz to help us out. What do you say? Leave those bozos to their doom." Caulifla slowly got up and stared Nappa down. He recoiled slightly. Her gaze was cold. She gave him a terrifying, piercing look. She didn't even need to say anything. The look was enough. She wasn't going anywhere. But who was going somewhere was Goku. He arrived in the nick of time. Now, even though Yamcha, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu were alive and present here at the moment, they clearly knew to back off right now. Let Goku run things now. They'd done their part, and Goku thanked them for their help and said he would take it from here. However, Krillin and Caulifla vowed to stay, especially thanks to them getting some sensu bean boosts from Goku's freshly delivered stash. Caulifla put her foot down when Goku offered for her to go back.
You think I'm gonna run from this? You're sorely mistaken, Papa.
Goku nodded.
Oh, I know. I didn't think you would. I just thought I should.
Krillin vowed to protect his best friend no matter what. Now I bet you're wondering why Krillin's acting more bravely than you expected. Well, first of all, he is still pretty brave because he's been in every single battle that the Z Fighters have had. And also, he wants to impress Caulifla. He's almost like Uncle Krillin in all but name. He wants to get that uncle moniker, dang it.
What do you say, guys? Let's get him.
And with Goku leading the charge, the three of them easily wasted Nappa. Again, Vegeta just letting them do it. Before Nappa expired, he looked to Vegeta for one last "why?" But the prince averted his gaze, as his former minion was then vaporized by a Kamehameha from Goku. I actually don't know whether that's colder than the original version where Vegeta just wasted Nappa. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Which one is colder? Now, from this point, things start to fall back into line somewhat with the events of the original Goku vs Vegeta fight. Caulifla was amazed at what her father had learnt in the other world. There's the Kaioken, the Spirit Bomb. It was so cool. Things keep to the original. That is until when Vegeta is sent skywards and has to figure out how to become a great ape, and realizing there is no moon. However, this time, he has to take Caulifla's situation into account from the start. She still has her tail in the story. Raditz vetoed having it removed. She could become a great ape if he weren't careful. So, the first thing to do when he got back down was to knock her out. Using the power of stealth, he quickly got back down to ground level and pounced on Caulifla. Krillin and Goku were ready to fight.
Careful, Kakarot! You don't want me to make one wrong— Ow!
Caulifla, like father like daughter, bit down on Vegeta's hand. He let out a yell and promptly punched the girl in the head, knocking her out. Goku thought that he had killed her, but Krillin said that she's just out cold, he could still sense her energy. Goku still vowed to take Vegeta on, now with more vigor than ever. But that is until the Power Ball comes into play. Now she's unconscious, the prince could easily turn into a great ape without worry, and do what he needed to do, which is to waste Goku. Vegeta is only halted in his mission to stop Goku by, obviously, Yajirobe's bold maneuver, and he is promptly transfigured back into his regular form. Krillin then has to take the Spirit Bomb from Goku, but thanks to the situation being slightly different here and Caulifla's influence and Vegeta's further desperation, he manages to strike Vegeta this time around with it. The prince is sent back into the sky and is severely injured. He tries to get up, but his final push is halted when the worst thing that could have happened to him happened to him. Caulifla had woken up. She was about to lay into the prince for hurting her like that, but then she spotted the Power Ball and smiled.
You're done, you clown.
Vegeta tried to stop it, but Krillin was still in a condition to give him at least a little bit of trouble. In seconds, a giant monkey Caulifla form had arisen, and this is where the practice Uncle Raditz had mentioned came to bear. And whilst her control of it wasn't as good as her uncle's, she was still able to keep her mind together just whilst in the form. Her fortitude was that strong. Her roars were accompanied by a booming voice.
I'll make you suffer, you evil sneak! This is for my uncles!
Vegeta tried to dart out of the way of her and Krillin, but then she just managed to grab the prince by the leg and thoroughly whack him around into the cliffs and rock faces and basically puny godded him into submission. In one last ditch effort to stop this, Vegeta used up his last bit of constitution and focus to cancel out the Power Ball, and the ball exploded in the air. Right there, Caulifla could feel herself changing back, the Blotz waves no longer present. No matter though, she'd helped her friends, and she managed to give Vegeta a lot of hurt. She then collapsed, the effort to hold this form considerable. Goku, despite being unable to get up, knew that they had won. Krillin is still told to spare Vegeta, and the prince, broken and defeated, flees the scene like in the original. When Caulifla comes to, she gives her dad a big hug and thanks him for believing in her.
I knew you had it in you. You always had. I'm glad that Piccolo and Raditz stuck by you. I promise to help you nurture their hard work.
Caulifla nodded. But before they could have had a more heart-to-heart talk of it, their friends arrived, with Chi-Chi first in line to see her husband and daughter. In this timeline, she is angry at both of them, not just her husband. Old habits die hard, eh? Caulifla is okay, still, just tired, and now tired of her mother's wailing into them. She thought that she had calmed down after the little kickback session, if you know what I mean. Chi-Chi has had a bit of a relapse and blames Raditz and Piccolo for ruining her baby girl. She saw the monkey fight with Vegeta earlier from the sky and assumed that to be Caulifla. That uncle of hers had fostered that beast-like behavior. She vowed to put a stop to this at once. There was nothing in the agreement about giant monkey forms. But Goku pushed back, despite being paralyzed.
Chi-Chi, stop! Caulifla did great. Raditz and Piccolo gave up their lives for her. We're all even. A daughter has a gift, and we need to take care of that. Like she took care of me just now. Without her help, I'd be dead.
Again, Caulifla smiled and nuzzled her father's outstretched hand, all of this whilst giving her mother the nastiest of looks.
I ain't giving this up, Mom. I gotta help Papa in saving the world. And we gotta bring Uncle Radish and Pickle back. It's the least we could do.
Chi-Chi initially was dead set against this, but now Krillin came to their defense, pointing out that without Piccolo, there are no Dragon Balls. In any case, right now, Goku needed urgent medical attention. When they got to the hospital, Goku was put in a special machine, them having used up all of their senzu beans and none coming anytime soon. And this is when Mr. Popo arrives to tell the group about the existence of Kami's old ship, the thing that took him to Earth in the first place. With the additional information of Piccolo, and thusly Kami, being Namekian from Vegeta and Nappa's digs, it stood to reason that maybe their homeworld was still around. They could provide some answers as to acquiring more Dragon Balls perhaps, or maybe bringing Kami and Piccolo back. Sure enough, with Popo's help, they had the means to find the planet. But it would require a lot of hard work to get that ship back up to code and spaceworthy. Luckily they had a Bulma, but they would also need a crew in which to head to the world and ensure the plan went safely. Could this be another chance for Caulifla to prove herself and bring back her masters? Well, you still have to wait and find out, as that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this idea where Raditz and Piccolo teamed up, check out the classic Raditz story here, where their teamwork led to the Radish becoming a good boy. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!